Chapter 3. The First Loss. When Kairahan retired into the 17th layer of pure light, he left the keys of the lower world to Ugin. Scrolls of the Broken Sky Temple Archive of Kut-Oda. The first thing Ertan noticed was the silence. Not empty silence. Not natural silence. The Ergenekon felt quiet, the way a room felt quiet after someone had just stepped out and shut the door behind them. He lay on his side in cool sand. His cheek was pressed flat against the grit. His ears were ringing from the crossing, but underneath the ringing, the world was waiting. Listening. He had the distinct sensation that the air itself was holding still around him, the way a dog holds still when it has caught a scent. He opened his eyes. The sky had no sun. That was the second thing. He noticed it before he noticed anything else, because he could not stop himself from looking up. The sky was the color of an old bruise, purple at the top, sickly green near the horizon, and there was light in it, but no source. The light just was even and thin, as if the air had agreed to glow at some low, careful temperature. There were no stars, no moon, no clouds. He pushed himself up onto one elbow. The sand under his hand settled wrong. He noticed that next. He pushed his fingers into the grit, and the grains paused for a half-breath before they fell, as if the idea of gravity arrived a heartbeat after the sand did. The effect was small. It was also unmistakable. Ertan, who had spent a year of his life watching essences settle in glass, knew a wrong rate of fall when he saw one. He sat all the way up. His body inventoried itself. Left shoulder bruised. He had landed on it. Right elbow scraped raw. Throat tight from the crossing, mouth dry, heart hammering, no major wounds. The polyhedron lay half a pace from his outstretched hand. He scrabbled toward it. He grabbed it, lifted it, turned it. Half full, half full. Liquid gold sloshed sluggishly inside the crystal. Chanavar's essence, what was left of it after his crossing. Enough to draw a counterspiral. Enough to push one body back through the world seam. Enough to send him back home. Ertan closed both hands around the polyhedron and pressed his forehead against it. He did not speak. He did not pray. He let himself for one heartbeat feel the small, clean relief. Then he heard the voice. He turned. A figure on a low-rise 20 paces back, broad-shouldered short. White Akan tabard with the black eagle of the Kaganit across the chest, somehow still clean. Mustache. Broken nose, a hand resting on the hilt of a sheathed scimitar. Bahadur Burka Komor.
Hey, coward!
Burke's voice cracked on the word.
I am talking to you.
Ertan's stomach turned over. He pushed himself up onto his knees. The polyhedron came with him in his right hand. He had known Burke for 6 years. They had studied at the academy in overlapping years. Burke, a year ahead in the cadet wing training to be a war shaman. He had been back on the grounds the last 2 months in a different posting. A quiet sinecure his father had pulled strings to arrange. That father had been Yargun Kumur, commander of the city guard. Yargun had been executed a week ago for embezzling from the city guard payroll. The execution had been public. Burke had stood at the foot of the gallows and watched. After that, the Kamur name had been stricken from the rolls, and Burke had volunteered for the next Akin within the week. He was also, Ertan cut his thoughts.
What are you doing here?
His voice was not a voice of accusation. It was the voice of a man who had walked into a hell he had braced for, found himself in something else entirely, and had not yet decided what it was.
I am proving that this can be done, without a sacrifice, and that we can come back.
He raised the polyhedron. Burke stared at it.
What in Tengri's name is that?
Crystalline essence trap, 20 faces. Enough life essence inside to draw a counter-spiral and push one body back across the seam. I have the sigils memorized. I just need clear sand in 40 seconds.
You desecrated the Aken.
Burke, listen.
You desecrated the holy ritual. You came in behind us. You stood on our platform with a jar while my father's name.
Burke's voice caught. He swallowed it. He forced it down.
Why, my father's name was on the volunteer scroll. That was the only way I could put it back on. Do you understand what you have done?
I understand.
You do?
I understand.
He kept his voice steady. Tomris would have been proud.
I understand exactly what you tried to do. I came to make sure none of you had to die for it.
My mother needed me to.
Your mother is a good woman. I met her at the autumn feast my second year. She gave me a honey cake.
Burke's mouth opened, closed, opened again.
You met my mother.
Once. She was kind to me when nobody else was.
The Bahadur stood very still on his rise of sand. Around them, slowly, the rest of the Akensiler were finding their feet. Ertan counted through the haze of the crossing perhaps 300 that he could see, scattered across the plain in small, dazed clusters. Some were vomiting. Some had sat back down. One was laughing, the high, thin laugh of a woman whose mind had decided to take a moment off. The Akane leader, a gray-haired Bahadur from the Sixth Gate, whose name Ertan had not learned, was already on his feet, calling them into formation in a hoarse voice that nobody was listening to. Ertan crouched and began to draw. Reverse spiral, counter willow, collector glyph mirrored. He scratched the shapes into the sand with a flat shard of stone he picked up beside his foot. His hands shook. They always shook. His hands did the work anyway.
You can't even manifest. How are you going to return?
I don't need to manifest. The ritual will be powered by this.
He pointed once again at the half-filled polyhedron.
My father.
Yes.
My father had a pearl-handled knife. For shaving, he used to let me hold it when I was 5.
Ertan did not look up. He kept drawing.
He was not a good man. I want to say he was. It is the kind of thing a son is supposed to say. But he was not. He took the gold, and he let 20 of his own gate guard die for lack of pay through a winter he could have funded himself. He was a greedy man aimed for the governor's circle, and he
stopped.
We almost got in.
His voice caught.
I just wanted my mother to be able to walk to the market again, without the apologies, without the eyes.
I understand.
Well, I am not a coward.
I know, Burke.
Then send me back. Let me tell the tale of the one man who returned unscathed.
Ertan paused. He looked up. Burke had come down off the rise. He was 3 paces away. His hand was no longer on the scimitar. His face had gone pale under the thin, even light. He was a young man asking for the only thing in the world he had left to ask for.
Just one of us. Just one. Send me orphan. Let me carry the news. Let me tell them what you did. I will say your name. I will make them say your name. They will build 1,000 of these traps. They will send a whole army next time. They will save everyone. Just send me.
Ertan's throat closed.
Burke.
The sand under Burke's feet bulged. The bulge came before the sound. The sand around Burke's boots settled into a perfect ring, the way flour settles around something heavy, dropped on a table, and then the earth rose. He was the first to be split in half. The thing that came out of the sand had no business existing. Ertan's mind, working very hard to anchor itself to anything familiar, produced the following observations in rapid order. Wrong size, bigger than a market stall. Tengri, so much bigger, 7 tails. Not one, each tail bigger than a grown man. At the end of each, a different terminal, a human hand, a horse's hoof, a curved blade, a sweep of bone, a barbed metal hook, and 2 things he did not let himself finish identifying. 6 claws, not 2, bone braided with bronze. A single gem the size of a dinner plate where eyes should have been. Pale yellow, lit from within, patches of clothing stitched into the carapace. A scrap of Kaganite blue, the exact shade worn by Sixth Gate volunteers of the 38th Grand Ritual 4 years ago. It was not a creature, it was a graft. It had been built out of what was left of previous group of Akanke and out of something else. Ertan watched the Akan leader die. The 7th tail, the one tipped with the long curved blade, came down in a single clean arc. And the gray-haired Bahadur from the 6th Gate was suddenly 2 pieces falling in 2 directions, and Ertan felt the hot, wet spray of him hit his cheek across 30 paces of sand. His mind, with awful precision, said, 42 Akans. From thousands, none return. This is why. The group Akinka tried to manifest. He watched it happen in a single scattered wave, hands lifted breath, drawn sigils opening behind the eyes, and watched nothing come of it. A woman in red wove the perfect combination for a flame bloom. Her hands flickered through 6 clean shapes, and her palms stayed empty. 3 running men threw a wind pulse between them. The wind moved, but the way wind moves when a horse passes, not the way wind moves when a shaman calls it. A big shaman, with the broken sigil of the 3rd gate on his tabard, called down a lance of Tengri's breath from a sky that would normally split a building. The lance struck the scorpion thing in the chest. The clothing patches blackened. The carapace did not so much as flinch. There was no coot behind it. There was no coot behind any of it. A young Akencha tripped 10 paces from Ertan. Couldn't have been older than 19. Volunteer. Probably somebody's son, somebody's brother. Ertan moved without deciding to move. He cut across the running line, shoved the polyhedron into the front of his satchel, dropped to one knee beside the boy and reached down. The boy's eyes locked onto his. They were blue. Too young.
Up. Get up on me now.
He hauled. The boy came halfway, then his right leg gave under him. Broken or sprained, Ertan could not tell, and the boy looked up into Ertan's face with an expression Ertan would have to live with for the rest of his life. The shadow of a claw fell across them. Ertan threw himself sideways. The boy did not. When Ertan looked back from 10 paces away, he was holding a hand. Just a hand. Disconnected at the wrist. He dropped it. He ran. The hand stayed in the sand behind him with the boy's body, and the part of Ertan that had once been 12 in a burning village marked the moment down very precisely and filed it next to the other moments he would never put down.
Orphan, cover behind the rise. Run.
They ran, together this time, across 30 paces of lagging sand behind a low lip of stone where the line of fighting had not yet reached, into a shallow gully shielded by an outcrop the size of a wagon. Ertan went down on his knees. Burke crashed in beside him. Ertan ripped the polyhedron out of his satchel. He started drawing on the sand. Reverse, spiral, counter willow. Faster than he had ever drawn in his life, faster than he had practiced. His hand shook. The sand lagged. He drew anyway.
Orphan, is it actually going to work?
Edo.
Is it going to send us both?
No.
Just one.
A long silence. A pair. Then Burke moved. He was a big man. He was a soldier. Ertan was a tutor with shaking hands. Burke's hand came down on the polyhedron, and his other hand came down on Ertan's chest, and Ertan was on his back in the sand before he understood what had happened.
I am sorry. Orphan, I am sorry. The governor may forgive me. My mother needs me home. I will tell them. I swear by my father's name. What is left of it, I will tell them. I will tell them. I swear it.
He held the polyhedron up. The 7th tail of the scorpion graph came down from above the outcrop, precise and casual, and cut Burke clean in half across the middle. The upper half of him fell across Ertan's legs. For 1/2 second, Burke's eyes were still working. His mouth opened. He formed a word that was either mother or please. Ertan would not in the whole rest of his life know which one. Then Burke stopped. The polyhedron dropped out of his hand and bounced once on the sand and rolled. A second tail strike came down, the metal hook this time, and tore the lip of the gully open in a crash of stone shards. A piece of stone the size of a fist hit Ertan above the left elbow, and he heard the bone go crack. A second piece hit his calf. A third hit the polyhedron square on its widest face. The crystal rang. It was the worst sound Ertan had ever heard. Then a hairline crack opened across the polyhedron's face from edge to edge, and the half-full essence inside began slowly to weep out into the sand. Ertan watched the gold drain. He could not move. He could not move. He could not move because Burke was on his legs and his arm was broken, and a creature the size of a small mountain was dismantling the akin above his head, and the polyhedron was leaking. 5 drops, 6, 7, 8. Each one hit the lagging sand and was absorbed. He moved. He shoved Burke off his legs with his good arm. He scrambled to the polyhedron and grabbed it with both hands and tilted it desperately upright. Even that motion lost him 3 more drops, and by the time he held it the correct way, there was less than half of half left. A little more than a quarter, not enough to draw a return spiral, not enough to push one body back across the seam, not enough to do anything except hold what little remained. Ertan looked at his cracked, blood-smeared quarter-full polyhedron, and the small, clean fact of not lost yet unraveled in his hands. A second impact hit him before he reacted. Something sharp slammed into the right side of his chest, hard enough to spin him sideways. Ertan crashed shoulder first into the sand and rolled twice before stopping. For one stupid, confused second, he thought the creature had hit him. Then he looked down. A shard of black chitin the size of a knife was lodged beneath his ribs.
Go.
Blood was already spreading through his tunic. Behind him, the sounds of the Aken were getting fewer. Ertan grabbed the shard with his good hand and pulled. The pain nearly blacked him out. He got the shard halfway free before his vision flashed white and his stomach turned violently. He stopped breathing hard, then ripped the rest out in one motion and screamed through his teeth. Blood followed immediately, not spraying. That was good, probably good. He shoved a shaking hand against the wound and forced himself upright. He almost let go of himself. He almost lay down in the sand next to Burke and waited for the seventh tail to come back. He shoved the polyhedron into his satchel. He clamped his broken arm against his ribs. He ran. He ran east, or what felt like east because the sky had no sun and no stars, only purple bleeding into green near the horizon. His left leg was starting to fail. Blood filled his boot warm and slippery. His chest hurt every time he breathed. Behind him, something roared. Ertan fumbled through his satchel while running and pulled free a small red glass vial, a stimulant potion of his own crude making. He had brewed half a dozen of them as emergency aids for Tumris in case anything went wrong on her crossing. Apparently this counted as wrong. He bit the cork free and swallowed. The effect hit almost immediately. The pain dulled first, not gone, just farther away. His heartbeat steadied into something fast and artificial. His thoughts sharpened. He ran faster. Stone debris rained intermittently around him. Once something wet struck the sand 3 paces to his left. He did not look at it. The terrain slowly changed. He ran what felt like a lifetime. The sand darkened beneath his boots, then dampened. Then he saw grass, thin blue-green patches scattered around a low stone hill. And beneath the hill, a cave mouth. Water dripped from the entrance in slow, steady taps. Ertan nearly laughed. Then the potion started wearing off. The pain returned all at once. His chest felt like somebody had shoved a heated knife between his ribs. His injured leg folded underneath him, and he hit the ground hard enough to bite through the inside of his cheek. He tasted blood. The cave was still 20 paces away.
Onapi, no.
He dragged himself forward anyway, one pull at a time through wet sand and scrub grass. His broken arm hung useless against his side. Blood dripped steadily from his chest wound. 10 paces. 5. Something roared again, somewhere behind him across the dunes. Ertan reached the cave entrance, grabbed the stone edge with his good hand, and pulled himself inside. Cold rock pressed against his face. The cave smelled like wet stone and minerals. Safe. Or safer. He made it several body lengths in before his strength finally gave out. He rolled onto his back, breathing shallowly. The cracked polyhedron pressed cold against his chest through the satchel. Still there. Ertan stared at the cave ceiling, and suddenly he was 12 again. His father trying to hold something back with bare shaking hands, his mother behind him turning translucent, and himself watching, running afterward, just like today. He had not stopped it then. He had not stopped it now. The last thing Ertan felt before unconsciousness took him was blood cooling against his ribs and the cracked edge of the polyhedron digging into his chest.